Today I'm announcing a parking ban at 6 Cook County Forest Preserves, starting tomorrow. Moving forward, the parking lots will be closed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the following locations: Bussy Woods in Elk Grove Village, Maple Lake and Saginash Key Slough in Palos Preserves near Willow Springs, Catherine Chevalier Woods and LaBaugh Woods in Chicago, and Bunker Hill in Niles. I know these are among the most popular sites in the forest preserves. Unfortunately, we have seen that on warm weekend days, these locations are too popular, with too many visitors who are not following critical public health guidelines to fight COVID-19.
They need to mute.
I still hear them.
Yeah. Whoever's on the line, can you mute the phone?
For those of you on the line, could you mute the phone because we can hear background radio or TV or something? Better, thank you. General Superintendent Randall and I have been clear that we cannot and will not allow sites in the forest preserves to contribute to the spread of COVID-19. Our forest preserves have already closed a number of sites, including all public buildings, all 6 nature centers, all 5 forest preserve campgrounds, and Swallow Cliff Stairs. For those that remain open, Superintendent Randall has been carefully monitoring locations, particularly watching for those that are most likely to cause concern. The rules are clear. Stay at least 6 feet away from people who do not live in your household. No congregating in groups. Picnic tables are now removed from use, so please leave them alone. No cookouts or picnics. At these 6 locations in particular, we have seen repeated violations of these rules on weekend days, and we have seen large crowds. That's unacceptable. So we're limiting access and lowering the number of visitors on the busiest days. Cook County is blessed to have open land and access to the natural world that the forest preserves provide. I know going out to the forest preserves offers great benefit for physical and mental well-being, and that's why we're working hard to keep as much of our preserves open and accessible as possible. We need your help, however. Most forest preserves remain open. Even the parking ban at these 6 sites is currently limited to 3 weekend days. For your own health and safety, and for the health and safety of everyone in our county, and to keep the forest preserve sites open, stay safe and follow the rules. Warmer weather is on the way, and the state's shelter-in-place order has been extended through the end of May to flatten the curve. So people will have been inside for a long time. We must be smart though, and we have to be careful. If any specific location is no longer tenable due to the behavior of visitors, we will shut the site down as well. I want to thank our sign language interpreters, Donna Stanton and Walter Matthews, and welcome Superintendent Randall to the podium.
Can you put it by the speaker and they can hear it down there rather than...
There's a speaker right there. That's why it's picking it all up.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning, and
Good morning.
thank you, Madam President. We are seeing an unprecedented interest in the forest preserves of Cook County, with numbers of visitors and online searches that rival the busiest days during the summer. In a normal year, that would be great news. Providing a place to enjoy outdoors and to explore nature is at the heart of our mission in the forest preserves. But of course, this is not a normal year. On warm, sunny days this month, the size of the weekend crowds we've seen at Bussy Woods, Maple Lake, Saginash Key Slough, Catherine Chevalier Woods, LaBaugh Woods, and Bunker Hill are not tenable under the threat of COVID-19. Even more concerning, I've heard from our police, staff, and other patrons about increasing numbers of visitors who are not following the rules for being safe. This weekend parking ban at 6 forest preserve locations is designed to address that situation. It is not an easy decision to close weekend parking at these popular locations, but it is a necessary one. The Forest preserves began closing sites that were clearly unable to allow for proper social distancing starting in mid-March. Since then, conditions have changed, and we have closed other locations as well. In some cases, that has meant all access is closed. In others, we have closed parking lots to limit the number of visitors. At every step of the way, we have endeavored to take a strategic approach. The most important factor is always the health and safety of our visitors and our staff, and to ensure the location is not a threat to spread COVID-19. Within that overarching rule, however, our aim is to continue to provide a resource for outdoor recreation and the natural world. As Madam President said, most forest preserves remain open. At these sites, we have closed all of our public bathrooms and taken picnic tables out of commission. We have signs up on trails and at parking lots urging visitors to follow public health rules. We have a process for monitoring how the public is visiting our sites and to determine if changes should be made. I want to personally thank our law enforcement officers, our landscape maintenance staff, and all field staff who have worked during this pandemic to keep our preserves safe and accessible. Our police have extended their alternative patrols in the preserves and on trails, on foot, and ATVs. They're responding to reports from our staff and the public about locations where public health guidelines are not being observed. Across the preserves, I'm now asking Forest Preserves Police to issue citations to individuals who are showing a willful disregard for public health and safety rules for such issues as social distancing, large gatherings, using restrooms that are not clearly marked, that are marked clearly closed. To date, our police officers have been giving warnings and will continue to do so. However, people should know that if they come to the preserves with intention of having a cookout or meeting with their friends, that is not okay. And it can lead to a citation with a penalty of up to $500. In this time of shelter in place and widespread concern about our health and our future, I'm proud that the Forest Preserves offers woods, prairies, trails, and waterways to explore. I know how important it is to have some of that in your life and the extra value it provides today. Please visit our webpage about COVID-19 to be sure that the destination in the Forest Preserves you want to go to is open before you visit. Please follow all of our recommendations for staying safe and healthy in the Forest Preserves, and that includes wearing a mask. And please help us continue to keep these sites open for everyone to use. Thank you.
We take questions now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi,
Yes.
I'm Kai with NBC5, acting on behalf of all my colleagues here today.
Sure.
My first question is for those of us that live in a city where urban residents, the forest preserves have been one of the few options for us to get outside. Many of us, included myself included, have loaded up the car and driven out. It's our only respite for shelter at home. What do you say to all of the city and urban residents who are thinking, this is one less option for me, and how can you explain what went into this decision? Because I know a lot of people are going to be very frustrated to hear this.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. If you'll recall, what I said was 6 of our preserves are closed on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's in response to the fact that people were not observing social distancing. So while I hope to keep open as many of our 300 miles of trails as possible, that's right? 300 miles of trails. These particular sites can no longer remain open on weekends because people were not observing social distancing, and we don't want the preserves to be a contributor to the spread of the pandemic. We want the preserves open and accessible so people can get out for physical and mental well-being, get out and walk in the woods. But they have to observe social distancing, and these were sites where that was not happening. Now, the overwhelming majority of our preserves remain open because people are observing social distancing. So choose those parts of the preserves that continue to be open and maintain social distancing, and they will remain open.
Thank you.
All right, did you want a follow-up question or what?
No, I had another off-topic question, but if you have.
Let's do it the topic, on-topic
Okay, great.
questions. All right, who's on the line with us? Hello?
Hi, it's WBBM.
Somebody from WBBM, who is it?
It's Bernie Sequoia.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Good morning. The question is for Superintendent Randall. Have you noticed people having cookouts, doing things like that, and actually standing around and congregating within that 6-foot limit that they're supposed to keep.
Have you observed people having cookouts and congregating and keeping the 6-foot distance?
Thank you. Yes, so that is part of our observations, that we are seeing people doing that, bringing their barbecue grills and gathering together around picnic tables and gathering in groups that in some cases clearly are not part of their household or family members. See a lot of young people gathering in some cases. What we do, we meet daily with the leadership team, the head of our police department, myself, our landscape maintenance folks, and a number of other folks who are out in the field every day making observations. And we also look at all the information we get in on social media and our website and so forth, and we sort of assess each of those sites where there are problems. And we've seen at these locations, we've seen more of that type of behavior. And we also know from history that these are extremely busy locations, particularly on the weekends, and as the weather warms up, we expect to have more of that type of behavior, and that is untenable. That can't happen in this environment because it would spread the COVID-19 virus, and that's, we have a responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen. So we have seen some of that behavior just on moderately warm days. We understand what's going to happen as the weather really warms up. So as the president said, we really want to encourage people not to do any of those behaviors, and we still want people to be able to use the preserves, but just on the weekends, finding other locations that are less crowded, that bring less people. We're just closing the parking lots, so we expect they're still open, but we don't want to have, we're trying to reduce the number of people there and reduce the opportunity for the virus to spread. It's been very thoughtful and strategic.
I do have a follow-up, though.
All right,
I happened to be driving down 104th Avenue last weekend along Saganashki Slough, and the parking lot is a small one anyway. There were people parking along 104th Avenue. Even when you close off parking lots, people are likely to park along the roads, no?
All right, so the question relates to Saganashki Slough and the fact that people park along the roadway outside of the parking lots.
So we recognize that we've seen some of those problems too. That's one of the reasons Saganashki Slough is the parking lot's being closed. So we will be using our police force and working with local law enforcement in those towns to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to be clear with people that any of those things that violate social distancing and parking along the roads there won't be acceptable either. So we're really trying to limit the number of people that come to those locations. So it's a complicated problem, but we're really working to keep the preserves open, and generally with trails and waterways and opportunities to fish like you were observing. But people have to do it in a safe way. So we will be using our police to move people along to make sure that they're not congregating, whether it's in a parking lot or on the road.
All right, does that answer your question, Mr. Tafoya?
Yes, it does. And just to be clear, my question was not just about Saganashki Slough. This happened to be something I happened to notice. My guess is you'll be doing that for all these preserves where the parking lots are closed, right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. We will make sure that where we've closed those lots, that we will have officers routinely making sure that people move along and they're not parking on the sides of the road.
All right, other questions on the line?
Yeah, hi, it's Bob, the Sheriff, the Daily Herald. Does anyone know if there have been any specific problems at Bussy Wood?
Bob from the Daily Herald, about the Bussy Woods.
So, as you probably know, Bussy Woods is one of the more popular and most visited sites in the preserve system, and we have observed those kinds of issues at Bussy Woods on the warm days and the weekend so far. And we also know, again, from history, that Bussy Woods is extremely popular for picnicking and social gathering, all things that really can't happen right now. And we've also noticed an influx of a lot of new visitors, which is, in a normal year, would be awesome, right? We'd love that. But what's happening is you have a lot of people who are new to visiting the preserves and are not necessarily understanding what the rules are, even though they're posted, when you enter places in the preserves, and certainly on our website. And so you're seeing people gathering and doing things at Bussy and these other locations that, again, are problematic. And so we, again, did not come to this decision lightly, and frankly, we feel like it is a responsible answer to deal with the most problematic times, which tend to be the weekends, especially when it gets warm, and not shut them down completely. We really don't want to do that if we don't have to. However, if we see that these type of problems arise during other times of the week, then we'll have to reconsider that as well. But we are seeing those kinds of issues at Busse, yes.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody on the line besides Bernie and Bob? All right, Bernie, did you have any more questions? Mr. Tafoya? No? All right, Bob, did you have any further questions?
Well, President Preckwinkle, I don't know if you're able to answer this a little off the Forest Preserve. We're noticing a lot of COVID-19 cases in displays. I'm good, thank you.
I'm sorry.
A lot of COVID-19 cases in displays.
Excuse me.
Any idea why?
Just a second. Who is speaking? Is this Bob?
Oh, it's Bob from the Daily Herald. Yeah, just the display COVID-19 cases. There seems to be a lot there. Any idea why?
I'm sorry, Bob. I'll have to ask our Bob from the Daily Herald. What's your last name, Bob?
Yeah, Sutton Shara.
Pardon me?
It's Bob Sutton Shara from the Daily Herald.
Spell your last name for me, please.
Yeah, S-U-S-N-J-A-R-A.
S-U-S-A-R-A?
N-J-A-R-A.
S-U-S, never mind. He's got it. All right, never mind. He'll get back to you because I don't have any idea. And our public health people are not at this press conference. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Is there anybody else on the line who hasn't had a chance to ask their question? All right, what's your off-topic question?
Okay, yeah, NBC 5, this is related to public safety and more of the law enforcement in the county. NBC 5 has a source that says more than 100 Cook County Sheriff's deputies are going to be moved possibly from the street or their normal duties to help with the jail. Can you comment on this? Have you had any talks with the sheriff about this, just to support them there at the jail?
No, I learned about this rumor just a little bit before this press conference. I have not talked to the sheriff today. I have no idea about how he's choosing to deploy his staff to meet the challenges he faces. You should ask him.
Okay, thank you so much.